Hey everyone, this is Clint from Creative Retail Talks, and I'm so excited today to have Melissa Wood from Etech on the podcast.
Hi, this is Clint O'Rear. Thanks for joining the Creative Retail Talks podcast today, where we will be discussing the latest in life, business, and retail.
Melissa is the Dean of Leadership at Etech, and we're going to learn what she does in that role.
Let's kind of focus for a minute on the Etech culture that you talked about. That's kind of what you and Matt had that conversation about, and what drew you there, and what you really lead at Etech. When I was looking at y'all's website before Jim and I talked, I saw those 12 character commitments. And again, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is amazing that they have those 12 character commitments. So did those, I guess, Matt, that's kind of what Matt had scratched on his notepad. Is that where those came from?
He had a lot scratched on that notepad, to be honest. There was a lot. And I'm going to be honest, we were like, when we got down to, after conversations and he had the 12 listed out, I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot, because I come from an organization that usually we have like 3 or you have, but he's like, he was so fun. And he's like, when I go to scratch one off, I'm like, I can't scratch courage off. Like I don't have the courage to scratch courage off. So they are 12, and let me see if I can teach them to you.
Let's do it. I love it.
So, and you're country guy, you're from Texas, right? So you're gonna like the philosophy on this.
Okay.
So it's HIP, HIP.
Okay.
HIP, 3 C's, and 2 ATV. You know what an ATV is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So say it with me.
HIP.
3 C's.
3 C's.
Did you play basketball?
My daughters do. I never did, but yes, I'm around it all the time.
Okay, so you got HIP, 3 C's.
3 C's.
And 2 ATVs.
2 ATVs. HIP, 3 C's, 2 ATVs.
So the HIP is the H is humility, the I is integrity, and the P is positive influence. That's HIP. Okay. The 3 C's, your 3 pointers. We have 3 major C's we go with. It's communication, creativity, and courage. Okay. And then you got your 2 ATVs, because everybody needs 2 ATVs because one always breaks down, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You got ATVs. The 2 A's are accountability, adaptability. The 2 T's are teamwork and teachability. And the 2 V's are valuing people and vision. That's how we HIP, 3 C's, 2 ATVs.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. And so he started with the words, and you'll see, I think they have it on our website. I don't know if they still do, but we took it a step further and we said, what does it look like? What does it look like in our company to have humility? Like, instead of just putting the word humility, because people like to define things the way they want to see them, right?
Yeah.
So we started there. We just said, okay, what does it look like to be a leader of humility? A servant leader that has humility, right? And what does it mean to be a servant leader with integrity? And what does it mean to be a servant leader that is a positive influence? And then the 3 C's. And we put a definition of what it looks like for each one of them. And that goes to your football days. Like when you started a season in the summer in 107,000 degree temperature in Alice, Texas. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I think they called them 2-a-days back in the
That's
day,
right. Yeah.
Usually when and I would go to those practices. I still do it. I'm sick. It's pitiful. I go to those practices because I love to see how the coaches, you talked about some phenomenal coaches you had, right?
Yep.
I like to see how the coaches bring the team together, and they would huddle up on day 1 of practice and they say state champs, state champs, state champs, state champs. This summer. Like, what are we talking about state champs? And it's because the coach was painting a clear picture of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Right.
Like, isn't that what he did with you guys?
Absolutely. Casting the vision. Yeah.
Vision. So that's pretty much, I think these companies that make it confusing, that make it so smart where people can't understand it, creates chaos, simply.
Agree.
And So what we've done with our servant leadership philosophy and these 12 character commitments is state champs. This is where we're headed. This is where we're going. This is what it looks like. Now, the difference is it's a journey, right? Not at the end of the year. We don't stop at the end of the year, at state champ, but it's definitely a journey. So I hope that's your question.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And I love that correlation of what a sports team does, where they start from day one of the season looking at, we're going after that championship. Obviously only one team gets it, but everyone's going for it, and that's their purpose and their vision. So that's a great analogy. It is interesting in business. The season never ends. You've got to keep that vision every day, every year, constant going. But it sounds like you guys are doing a great job of that. So talk to me a little bit, Melissa, about, because it is an ongoing thing, how do you keep continual learning and teaching and development on those 12 character commitments with the Etech team?
Okay, that's a great question. I knew you had all these great questions. That we would expect you to have great questions, right? So,
I hope so.
What we have at Etech is what we call the 5 pillars of education. All right, and I think that Jim touched a little bit about this. And,
yes.
And when I'm sitting down with Matt, we're like, you know what, we've got to crystallize what we're doing here, right? At all levels of leadership. We have a lot of employees and a lot of great leaders in our company. Honestly, some of the most talented people I have ever worked with in my career have chosen to share their talents with us here. Okay. So we have got to give people opportunities on this journey, right? So these 5 pillars of education, they are opportunities, right? They are not mandatory, that you have to on some of these things. Now, some legal things we have to be, but those 5 pillars, they're aspiring leader. We try to, that's our building our bench, right? That's your little dribblers program. That's your peewee football. That's, an aspiring leader program. If you don't have that, even in a small town, you can see where you're at a deficit as, in competition.
Yeah.
So I told you it's simple. That the trick is it's like cooking, right? You don't need 1,000 ingredients. You just go with some basic essentials, right?
Right.
So we start with aspiring leaders, and we run a program several times a year with aspiring our team members, right? Our support staff or team members, anyone who is not in a leadership position, they apply for this program, right? We advertise it. They apply for this program. It goes through our human resources department, and they're interviewed in this program, right? And then they are selected. So we create a hunger for people to want to be in this program. So we run through the program, and we tell them we teach them basic things of leadership. We introduce them to the servant leadership philosophy and these 12 character commitments plus professionalism. We just pour into them as much as we possibly can. And then they obviously they have some cohorts in this program. They do some teach backs. We have a graduation where all sorts of leaders come in from all different parts of the country. And they celebrate with these folks, right?
Yeah.
That's aspiring leader. Our next pillar of education is new leader assimilation. Bingo, you've been hired as a leader, right? Do you remember getting your first leadership job?
Oh yeah, so exciting.
So what I've heard throughout my career is that people just were not equipped to be a leader. Like they just said, okay, you're a leader. Congratulations. Here's your little raise. Here's your name badge, and I go get them.
Yeah.
Right. And so people just weren't equipped. So in that pillar of education, it's equipping. We equip them with some legal, basic HR foundational things that we need to know, and just pretty much everything that we can get into a program on what does it mean to be a new leader on our tribe, in our country, right?
Yeah.
So we just reinforce the servant leadership philosophy. We reinforce these character commitments. And then we go through what we call some core elements of training. I won't break it down, but there's different levels of leadership that go through because you can be a VP, right? That comes into our company. You can be a frontline leader. So it looks different, right?
Yeah.
So we just have different layers in new leader assimilation for those different types of leaders. The third pillar of the 5 is coaching. We have a suite, and I know you'll like that one. You'll probably want to dig into that one since you have, your athletic background and
Yes.
you're being a teacher, those types of things. So we have a certification program. We call it, our vision is to make a remarkable difference for each other, our customers, and within our communities very clearly. That's our state champs. That's it. It's very clear, right?
Yeah.
So within that coaching, we cannot be good leaders unless we know how to bring other people with us. John Maxwell says, if you think you're leading and you turn around and no one is following you, you're simply going for a walk. So we equip the leaders on how to coach and communicate for performance, for relationships. We have a layer of a program where they can get remarkably coach certified within our company to be coaches. We offer a 2.0 program for our mid-level leaders and our advanced leaders, because there's a different style, right? When you're leading leaders or leading leaders of leaders.
Yeah.
So that's in our coaching suite. We also, in their remarkable coach certification, you have people learn something. So, right, we teach them something. We test them out to make sure they have the knowledge, right? Because you can't go through class and pass. It's your dad would so appreciate this. He would appreciate the program so much. You teach them, they have to pass out, but this is where we're different. We make them demonstrate in live settings their ability to apply this material.
Very cool. So tell me about that. Yeah. How does that work? That sounds really cool.
You want to come on our team, which I think I would love for you to.
Hey, I'm like about to sell my company and come work for Etech. I love what you guys are doing.
You and I would work really good together, I think. But what happens is you go through a workshop and you learn some tactics, right, on how to coach and communicate. And then we test you out in level 2, through some online tools that we've created on site. And we have an online, we call it Remarkable University. So you go on to Remarkable University and you test out and you go through all those things. And then if you want to qualify for level 3, that's the certification, your leader has to do a recommendation letter to our staff that says, I have seen Clint demonstrate these tactics at a proficient level. Like, I've watched him do really good at this, right? Yeah. And then we'll take those recommendations and we choose a squad a few times in the year, right? And then in your 10 week program, you submit videos to us of you actually coaching using these tactics, and we have rubrics created. We score you on these tactics. This is not artificial coaching. So I may have 30 people that are trying to pass this program, and I will watch 15 different coaching per person times 30 people in our company.
Wow.
So
that's commitment right there.
So what this does is a few things. It makes Melissa make sure that I am in the heartbeat of our company. I'm seeing that what we're teaching, is it working?
Yeah.
I'm also seeing for myself, people say, how do you know that people are coaching? Because I've watched them. Our team has watched them, and we've scored them out on it. So, so once you pass all 15 of those, if you fail 2, you're out. It's not baseball. You don't get 3 strikes. Here you get 2, right?
Yeah.
So if you fail 2, you're out, but you can apply, in a different program. So that's our coaching pillar. Then we have a 2.0 pillar. So we just have a really big suite in that coaching pillar of education. And then our 4th pillar of education is continued education. That drawer in your house where you've got everything in it?
Yes.
Unfortunately,
I know. Yeah.
If you're like Melissa, I'm gonna be honest, I have a closet or 2 that's or the drawer wasn't big enough, Clint, so I had a closet. But the continued education, and I heard you and Jim talk about this, it is where it's their circle of life, where we are breathing And I just finished the class before I got on the podcast with you, and it's professionalism in the workplace and how it ties to employee engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So we offer several classes this week over this topic, and we have different facilitators. I'm facilitating myself one on Thursday, but you can just come in and we can teach you some things about professionalism. And we actually used examples of leaders in our company. We show like text messages, emails. Yeah. We show like real life examples, and we say, what do you think about this? How would you enhance it? Is it professional? Is it not unprofessional? And we just have conversations about how that ties back to employee engagement. We have an overall goal this year of increasing our employee satisfaction by 1%. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it is, right?
Yeah.
In that continued education, we have some scheduled things that we call it the opportunity drawer or the policy. You are not in a deficit of, if you are hungry and you want to be a better leader. That's why I think you would like this, because you said you ate. I mean, what kind of guy goes to a Zig Ziglar session with his dad? Like, I don't think
at like 12 years old.
Okay. You just wanted to do that. Was just something in you to want to do that. So yeah. I call that, your personal development, your self-development. Mm-hmm. You kind of are watching for that into some people, right? Yeah. It's when you played football, those ones when coach wasn't looking, the ones that didn't pull the tires or didn't run the gashers or whatever they call them. I didn't get to play football, but I probably could now if they want.
I'm impressed. You know the terminology though. You have been watching some practices.
Yeah, I have. So, but the ones that just, we're looking for people that are hungry, that go into self-development. But we provide how to lead virtually, how to lead remote teams, how to be professional, coaching and communication. We just provide all sorts of stuff in this closet, in this drawer, that they can get their hands on when they want. And that's also the drawer where they get access to us. Like, Jim talk to you about us, mentoring and things like that. So that's in that drawer. If you want to know more about that drawer, we can talk about it on different podcasts.
That's very cool. I think he told me that there's times when he gets up like at 5 or 6 a.m. to engage in some of that, which I thought was really cool. Obviously, it's very, very important. So one thing I'm curious about is where does the content and curriculum come from? Is that something you and your team are developing, I would imagine, or just this system that you have, especially this opportunity drawer, where does that content come from?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All the
That's
above.
why it's the drawer, right?
That's my drawer. I tell everybody it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be. It should not be.
Yeah.
It should be simple. It should be clear, because there's just too much confusion in people's lives for work to be confusing.
Yes.
Right. That's just not going to happen here. It's not going to happen on my watch. It's not going to happen. It's going to be clear. So we have in-house training that we create. We go to experts in the field, your Ken Blanchard, your Patrick Lencioni's, your John Maxwell, your Angela, your Charles Green and Andrea Howe from Trusted Advisor. And you go into, sorry about that. You go into, you just tap in to see some of these brilliance. Zig Ziglar, like, how could you not tap into Zig Ziglar when he created the foundations of leadership? He said the number one law of leadership is focus on the situation, issue, the behavior, not the person, right?
Yep.
So we'll grab some of that old stuff, right? And we'll plug. So that answers your question. We just grab things from everywhere that really fit our mold of learning.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like I would love to see that opportunity drawer sometime. Sounds like there's some great stuff in it. Or we'll do another podcast on the opportunity drawer.
You got to come over and look in this closet. There's some stuff. Hey, there's stuff that did not work.
Of course. Yeah, that happens.
And the tribe, and I read How to Create a Tribe when you were talking about that company. I was like, I've read some of that information.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So I'm trying to remember, do we have one more pillar? Or do we hit all of them?
I was watching to see if you caught that.
You're just making sure I was following along, right?
The last pillar is, I think it's the secret sauce of this company. And you know what? If anyone else is listening and you have a company, I think one of your questions, around, how do other companies apply this? This is called zoned reinforcement. Remember when I told you that I wanted people to demonstrate their ability to use these skills?
Yep.
That's not normal in corporate America.
No.
So that's what I call zone reinforcement. Like, we are making sure in this pillar that we have line items where people didn't just get out of class, didn't just cheat off their neighbor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We are zone reinforcing. So if we, that's coaching was one example. I talked to you about the new leader assimilation pillar where you learn new things. Well, we'll do post sessions like 30 days, because you become a new leader, like you're going to get thousands of information, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do post sessions, 30, 60 days, 90 days, where we go back and we zone in on critical things that you should have learned in that course. We peel it out and we chunk it and we reinforce zoned material. I relate everything back to sports. I love sports. You have your special teams.
Yep.
You had a special teams coach, right? He took you to the side and he taught specific things, right? So we'll zone reinforce some of the learnings that you should have gotten.
Yeah.
So we also do something very unique, is if you're a leader of leaders in our company, of your GMs or your director levels, it doesn't matter if you're in HR, if you're in our marketing team, if you're in operations, if you're in payroll or finance, if you see something in your team that needs some help, they'll reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, let me tell you what our problem is. And we just do a discovery. And we just, like, I would talk to you. So if you're like, Melissa, can I talk to you about our team? And then we just do a discovery. I talk to you about your team. And then I try to create a recipe that we can go in and we zone in on an area that you need help in. And I give you that immediate help. That's something our leaders have available to them within this company under that zone reinforcement pillar.
Yeah, that's amazing. Being with us.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation on the Creative Retail Talks podcast today. Be sure to visit our show notes page for more information on today's show. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, reach out to me at clint@creativeretailtalks.com. Creative Retail Talks is all one word. That email address will also be in the show notes. Hope you have a great day.